comparison is the thief of joy. That's so well said. Explain what you mean.
And good morning to you, Chief Meteorologist Trent Okerson in the Weather Center with new severe thunderstorm warnings across western Kentucky as a line of storms here blowing across the region. And we've had reports of some very strong wind gusts, up to 72-mile-per-hour wind gusts reported recently here in Fulton, Kentucky with this line of storms. And we're going to have quite a bit of wind through with this here in just the next few minutes. As we take a look here, zoom back out for a second on mornings here across western Kentucky until 11:45 this morning. Bear with me just for a moment as we get our radar bearings here, and here's a look at that warning information for you. It includes a large area, so I'll give you that look here at this, and then what we want to do is kind of go down for a closer view. Notice that the wind speed 70-mile-per-hour gusts possible, and the threat tag says considerable. So that considerable tag is significant. That is something that we only see in a handful of our severe thunderstorm warnings. This is not something that we typically see for your run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorm warning, so this is certainly a more significant threat. Also, south of Hopkinsville, you may see on your screen pop up a tornado warning issued there. That is essentially out of the local 6 area. But we are looking at the potential here for some very strong gusty winds with this storm system. And bear with me here, I'm having a little bit of an issue with my weather graphic system. Let's see if we can get this to function correctly here. Severe thunderstorm warning again until 11:45 for most of this area. Again, we'll zoom down here, give you a closer view of this line of storms as it's closing in on the Paducah area here shortly, and on down into Graves County. Very strong gusty winds likely coming in to Wingo, Fancy Farm, and Mayfield with this line of storms here. The worst has already blown through Clinton and Bardwell, so next in line is McCracken County. Ballard County, you guys seeing some very heavy rain and likely some very strong gusty winds with this as well, and on down toward Mayfield and eventually toward places like Water Valley and Farmington, Sedalia, up towards Simpsonia will be in the path of this here soon. Let's flip the radar from the regular scan to the velocity mode and look at what some of the winds are looking like in this. And right now, the radar itself, the velocities, a little tough to find some of those really high gusts that have been indicated, at least on this particular view. But looking behind the scenes, certainly some gusts in the 50 to 60 mile per hour range, likely with this over toward places like Water Valley right now. Possibly up to about 66 miles per hour. In fact, bear with me, I'm going to flip this over to a different mode behind the scenes here just for a moment. Yeah, and you can see here some of the stronger wind speeds here. Look at this back down toward Wingo, 73 mile per hour gusts possible there. And yeah, it looks like new severe thunderstorm warnings coming out here in southern Illinois as well. But yeah, we've got numerous counties here under a new severe thunderstorm warning. I'll get that information to you here shortly. But yeah, some of these wind gusts in southern Graves County easily over 55 to 60 miles per hour. Again, you see around Wingo, 65, 67 mile per hour gust, 60 mile per hour gust around the Mayfield area, and then coming in here for a little bit of a closer view up around the Fancy Farm area. We're looking at wind gusts of at least 45 to 50 miles per hour, 58, 60 down toward Wingo. So you get the idea here with those winds very strong in the center of this storm. And then on the other side of this, we've got new severe thunderstorm warnings here in southern Illinois, and some of the wind speeds here up around Vienna registering possibly over 50 miles per hour as this line of storms approaches there as well. And you see 55 here in southern Johnson County, some 40, 45 mile per hour gusts here around Massac County as well. So let me turn the radar back to regular mode, give you the information here on this new severe thunderstorm warning. I'll join you back out here on camera. So our new severe thunderstorm warning in southern Illinois, this includes Pope County, Johnson County, Massac, extreme southeastern Union County, and most of Pulaski County. And this runs until 11:45 as well this afternoon. That's in addition to most of western Kentucky under a severe thunderstorm warning until 11:45 as well for the possibility of damaging winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour. And these storms are racing too, by the way. They're moving northeast at about 50 miles per hour. So the forward speed on these storms means these will blow in quickly, so your time to take shelter and act is limited. So let's put a track here while I'm on this particular warning. I'll track this for you, and then we'll move back down into western Kentucky and give you some arrival times there. I have to zoom out just a bit to cover enough real estate here. These storms in southern Illinois currently located right around Grand Chene and Karnak. And the gusts here again possibly over 50 miles per hour. This line moving to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour. So we're not going to have a whole lot of time here to react out ahead of this thing. So some of our arrival times in Vienna around 11:09, Tunnel Hill at around 11:16, Eddyville at around 11:31, Golconda at 11:34, and Cave and Rock at around 11:37. All right, so let's move this back down here in western Kentucky and track what's going on here. We have had a report earlier of a 72 mile per hour gust as this line came across in Fulton, Kentucky. And this line here extends from just south of Paducah. Really looks like Graves County is the worst of this right now, probably seeing wind gusts of over 50 to 60 miles per hour. Can't rule out some gusts possibly reaching closer to 65. And let's put a squall line track on this as it's moving to the northeast at about 50 miles per hour as well. So that is going to put this storm heading over across into the lakes area here in the next probably a half hour or less arrival time. So Paducah around 11:06. It is starting to get a little dark outside, but it really looks like the worst of this is probably south of Paducah. Murray around 11:17. So within about 15 to 20 minutes, you guys can expect some very strong gusty winds and a very quick hitting round of rain. Calvert City at around 11:23. Eddyville at around 11:41. And Princeton at around 11:54, the arrival time on this. And again, there is also, you may see on your screen here, a tornado warning for Christian County. That is south of Hopkinsville, and that storm's actually already moved out of Christian County. So that's about all that we'll do as far as talking about that. But the main concern here is very strong gusty winds moving across Graves County right now. Nolan Kane is also with me here in the Weather Center. Nolan, if you wouldn't mind to maybe keep an eye on our Facebook feed over there, pull up that live that we're doing right now, see what kind of information we're getting from our viewers as far as reports that are coming in. And if you do, we are on Facebook Live. If you do happen to have lose power with this system moving across the region, you can always pull us up. Make sure you got your phones with you and charged up, and make sure that you follow us here on our Facebook feed as these lines of storms moves across the area. As this line of storms moves across the area, we'll keep you updated on what's going on across our region. Again, if you're just joining us, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until 11:45 for us here across most of western Kentucky and southern Illinois, with the possibility of damaging winds in excess of 60 to 70 miles per hour. If you do have any reports to pass along right now, the easiest way to do that would be to go to your WPSD TV, our Facebook fan page. We're streaming live on Facebook right now, since this is more of an elevated risk with this severe thunderstorm warning, and drop a report in the comments section for us as far as what you're seeing with this line of storms. Let's put this back into motion so you can kind of see where this is headed and how this has looked over the last hour or so, as this, once it really got into western Kentucky, there's not a lot of unstable air out there. We did have a little bit of clearing out ahead of this. That may have helped to energize the atmosphere a little bit, but most of what you're seeing here is just simply driven by extremely high winds aloft. We've got winds ripping at 80, 90 miles per hour, just a couple thousand feet off the surface, and it doesn't take much for these thunderstorms to tap into that very strong wind aloft and bring that down to the surface, and that's what we're seeing here with these thunderstorms that are prompting warnings right now across our region. Keeping an eye on our Facebook feed, and I'd really be curious to see what we're seeing in Graves County right now. So if you're watching from Graves County, if you have any reports of wind damage, just giving an idea of how strong the winds are estimated there. And then it looks like right now the strongest part of this storm is just to the north of Mayfield, up around the Hickory community, and starting to see things getting a little more impressive looking around the Paducah area. In fact, let's switch this over here, and this is a look at our sky tracker from Paducah, and you see some dark clouds there and rain beginning to fall here in the Paducah area. You can see that camera bouncing around just a little bit, but right now just a lot of clouds and high wind getting ready to move into the McCracken County area. Let me step out here just for a second and check a couple of things behind the scenes. Did have weather spotter report of 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts around Pilot Oak in Graves County. That was just a couple of minutes ago. And still getting some wind gusts over 50 miles per hour at the Fulton County, Kentucky Mesonet site. That's where we recorded a gust of 72 miles per hour, and that was at around 10:42 here this morning.
So we got trees down in Wingo, according to one of the comments in the comment section.
Okay. So again, if you're just joining us here, we'll do a little recap for you. We've got a line of thunderstorms moving across the region. This is just directly ahead of our cold front that is coming across the region right now, and this is responsible for some very heavy wind and rain right now. One viewer saying on one side of barely see across one side of the highway to the other around Mayfield. It's raining so hard and there's so much wind. Multiple severe thunderstorm warnings here across the region, so let me give you that information here as we'll move the camera around, zoom down just a little bit here, and get that taken care of for you. First of all, here in western Kentucky, Callaway, Marshall, Graves, McCracken, Ballard County, and a small part of Livingston County under a severe thunderstorm warning until 11:45. And that also goes across into Massac County in southern Illinois. And here's the thing, the wind is the biggest concern. Wind speed possibly gusts up to 70 miles per hour. So occasionally with severe thunderstorm warnings, we'll have this threat tag, and you see it says considerable, and that lets you know that we're kind of a level up here. This is not your ordinary severe thunderstorm warning. with this. We're talking about the possibility of some damaging winds, an elevated risk of damaging winds with this system. And then we've also got severe thunderstorm warnings here in southern Illinois. Get you that information. It's also going to go until 11:45 this morning, and that's going to include those of us here in Johnson County, Massac County, and up into Pope County. Pulaski County, you guys also included in that, but the worst of the storm already beginning to move east now of the Karnak area. And you see this one is your regular severe thunderstorm warning, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts estimated here. We've got very heavy rain closing in on Paducah right now, right on down toward the Mayfield area. And we've had several reports of wind gusts of between 60 and 70 miles per hour back in Fulton, and just a second ago at 11:06 the Graves County, Kentucky Mesonet site reported a wind gust of 65 miles per hour. That's southwest, 6 miles southwest of Mayfield. So 65-mile-per-hour wind gusts here in Graves County with this line of storm. So let's zoom in here and give you a closer look at what we're seeing in western Kentucky and some arrival times for you here as well. And this also continues down into northwest Tennessee. There's no official warning, but in between Dresden and Paris, I would not be surprised if we had some strong wind gusts of at least 40 to 50 miles per hour over there toward the Paris, Tennessee area, and Murray, Kentucky, in Benton as well. Within the next probably 10 minutes, possibility of 50 to 60, 65 mile per hour wind gusts with this line of storms moving here. Back toward Wingo, had a couple of reports of some trees down, but the storm has already passed by. Very fast movement at 50 miles per hour with this, and that's going to be blowing through fast for those of us here across western Kentucky. Some very heavy rain right here along 45 between Lone Oak and Mayfield, and also some gusty winds likely there. Let's stop this, and I'll put a track on the movement of this thing so that you can get an idea of what to expect here in these different locations over the next little bit. This is moving east at about 50 miles per hour. So our line of storms here from southern Graves County up into McCracken County, moving east at 50. That will bring it over toward Simpsonia. Well, it's pretty much right on top of us now. Murray at around 11:21, so we've got just a little over 10 minutes before this thing moves into town for you guys. Eddyville at around 11:43, and Lamasco at around 11:51. Let me do a couple of smaller tracks here because I want to give you some arrivals in Marshall County. Let me clear this off here. So arrival times here, some more of our times for Marshall. Benton, 11:21 arrival time for you guys. So over the next about 10 to 15 to 20 minutes is when this thing will be moving into Marshall County, as well as Callaway County, with what we've already seen are wind gusts of well over 60 miles per hour. In fact, let me put a couple of these reports on for you here so you can get an idea of what we're looking at as far as the oh, now we got a tornado warning in effect. Okay, so let me show you this real quick that I was getting ready to make mention of. Here's our storm reports. We've had a recent wind gust in Fulton, Kentucky, with this line of storms of that's our flooding report. Looks like that's covered up the wind report, but just had a 65-mile-per-hour gust here in Mayfield. All right, new tornado warning is in effect now for parts of McCracken County. Nolan, if you would bring that information over here, I'd appreciate it. And this is all kind of, we're going on the fly here, lots to keep track of. Tornado warning is going to run until 11:40 this morning. This is a radar indicated area of rotation, and let me go in for a little bit of a closer view here and show you. We're currently looking at the velocity scan of the radar. I have to zoom down so we can get a better idea of where we're, the area of concern. And I do see right here in southern McCracken County what looks to be a pretty strong little area of rotation. This is severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Reedland, moving northeast at 60 miles per hour. So there's a couple of areas to watch. Up here around Reedland, we've got some rotation. We've also got some rotation here in the southern sections of the county. We do hear the tornado sirens going off now here at the station. Let's scan this to make sure we don't have any debris signatures showing up. And as of right now, I do see right here where we've got that rotation, there is a debris signature that's right here. So this is around Kentucky 994 and down toward the hard money area. So let's go down here for a closer, between Fremont and hard money. So if you live on Kentucky 994, this is down here Old Mayfield Road, the southern end of Husbands Road where it intersects with Bonds Road, up toward Road and Oaks Road. There is quite possibly a tornado. Is probably a brief touchdown. It's probably relatively small and likely going to be rain wrapped. And we just lost some of that radar data here. It looks like a new scan that just came through. It's going to be wrapped in rain, so there's no way to see this. So if you're right now in southeastern McCracken County, you've got to be taking shelter right now. Move to an interior hallway or closet. If you have a way to put a blanket mattress over the top of you, that would be a good idea here, again, in central and southeastern McCracken County. This is going to be heading up toward Reedland. It's moving to the east-northeast at about 50 miles per hour. Let me go back over here to my velocity scan. It looks like we had a new scan come in. It's going to be in this area here. It's just to the northeast of Fremont. It's getting ready to cross I-24. It's going to cross in between exit 11 and exit 16. So if you're out toward Reedland right now, you need to be taking shelter. Tornado warning in effect until 11:45 now in that area. And again, have your phone with you. We are streaming live on Facebook right now, our WPSD TV Facebook page. We are live on Facebook. Let's go back here. I want to see if our debris signature is still showing up. We did have a debris signature here around the Fremont area. You see that little pop of yellow colors right here. That's likely where, if we had a tornado touchdown, there's probably some debris being lofted into the atmosphere at this moment. And of course, keep in mind, this radar scan is probably a minute or two old, so this system is moving on off to the northeast. Reedland, an arrival time on this tornado shortly for you. Let me zoom this out just a little bit, and I want to put this into motion so that I can see where this thing has been moving here over the past couple of minutes. Get our bearing here on our movement and exactly what direction this thing is going. So right here, I'll tell you what, bear with me just for a second. These storms are moving so fast that it's hard to get a read on the data. I want to kind of stop this and loop through it a little more slowly so I can get an idea. So here is, and I'll draw and highlight the area that I'm talking about here. This was the rotation of about 7 minutes ago. Here it is right now. And now you do see that there has been a significant amount of weakening with that. The rotations really blew up here to the west of Simpsonia, right along the Graves and McCracken County line, and has since weakened just a little bit. Hopefully that continues to be the case. We've got new severe thunderstorm warnings also coming out here So we'll get you that information. But again, if you are in the Reedland area, we are not out of the woods yet. Broad rotation appears to be moving over town right now, and that's going to be in Ledbetter next. So Reedland and Ledbetter, you guys need to be taking cover and in your safe place of shelter right now. The rotation, if it did hold together, would be up around the Smithland area within about the next 10 to 15 minutes. All right, so let me go back over to our regular radar briefly and give you an idea of where this entire line is headed next. We've got blanket warnings that have just come in across most of western Kentucky. We've got an extensive list here, so bear with me as I read these off to you. And let me pull this information up quickly here so that you can see it. The new severe thunderstorm warning, then the information is going to take up most of your screen here. Crittenden County, Caldwell County, Northern Trigg, Lyon County, Livingston, and eastern sections of Marshall and Callaway County. This is going to be until 12:15 today. And again, we're talking about wind gusts possibly over 70 miles per hour with this line of storms. Also, our threat tags, a considerable threat. That means this is not your run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorm warning. This one is an elevated risk because we've already had reports of 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts and tornado possible, as we just saw around the Hard Money and Fremont area. We could see a quick spin up along this line. This line currently arriving in Murray and Benton in just the next couple of minutes. Extends up through Reedland and past Metropolis now over to the northeast of Metropolis up toward the Dixon Springs area in southern Illinois. All right, let's go back down. I want to make sure that we focus on our tornado warning here and our folks here in Reedland. Make sure that we're okay. If there is any rotation, it's going to be here around Reedland right now. You see there's kind of a little bit of a hook in this line of storms. And let me go here for our debris tracker again and see if it's picking up on anything. And it's a lot messier of a look than it was just a few minutes ago. So hopefully that is good news. Certainly as we look at the velocity data here and go back and look at the winds inside this storm, it's really tough to pick out any areas of rotation right now. It was very clear back around Fremont and south of there, back along the McCracken and Graves County line. It was very clear to pick out where we had rotation just a little bit ago. Let me step off camera just for a minute to check out any new reports that have come in. The most significant reports we've had so far, about 30 to 40 minutes, about 40 minutes ago, we had a wind gust of 72 miles per hour in Hickman, Kentucky, around Fulton County. And then we had a report at 11 o'clock, about 20 minutes ago, of a 65 mile per hour wind gust in Mayfield. And keeping an eye on our chat on the Facebook fan page. No power in Wingo, power out in a few spots across Graves County. And if anyone has any reports of, if you have damage reports that you need to share with us, the easiest way to do that is to go to your WPSD News app and click on Weather Window, and you can upload your photo there. You can also share those on our Facebook fan pages, Trent Okerson, WPSD Local 6 on Facebook. You can also share those to Noah and Nolan's pages. And then let's zoom the camera back out here a little bit. Our tornado warning is ongoing here in western Kentucky for those of us in McCracken County, for western sections of Livingston County, eastern Massac and Polk County. So over here, kind of the Unionville Bottoms area, west of Smithland. This is where that storm is rolling right now, but it has lost a good deal of its signature as far as the rotation is concerned. We're not seeing that nearly as prominently as what we saw just a little bit ago. Let's move the camera back down here to Marshall and Callaway County. This line of storms coming through Benton, Hardin, and Murray right now. Do we have the ability to take the Murray sky tracker right now? I'm not sure if we're able to punch those buttons in the back. If we can, we've got a pretty substantial looking view. Yeah. Here, let me step out of the way so you can see this. And we've got, all right, well, you just saw the camera just completely filled up with rain and wind. That wind is blowing sideways. You can see the sheets of rain coming down here right now there from Murray State University. So a very intense blast of rain and wind. Really tough to make out much of anything on that view right now. We'll stay with it for just a second. Very strong winds, probably looking at wind gusts right now in the Mayfield area of at least 50 to 60 miles per hour. And kind of behind the scenes right now, radar indicating the possibility of some gusts around at least over 35 miles per hour. All right, we can come back out to radar now. And again, we are tracking multiple areas of concern across the region, including a tornado warning that is still in effect until 11:45 for us here in parts of McCracken County. But so far, things have been trending in a better direction here. Let's go back over and look at our wind velocity data. And it's awfully tough to pick out anything here. As I loop this over the last hour, you can see why we had a tornado warning that was in effect. There was areas bright green right there. It's right here. This was around Fremont in southern McCracken County, out around Husbands Road, the Oaks Road, Bonds Road area. We did have a intense area of rotation that popped up briefly on radar, and there was, in fact, a debris signature for just a couple of radar scans that made us think that there likely was a tornado touchdown there. We'll have to do some investigating. If you are out here in southern McCracken County, if you have any damage, please let us know. You can go to our Facebook fan pages, Trent Okerson, WPSD Local 6, send me a message with some photos there, and you can also use your WPSD News app to go to the weather window and submit your photos and reports there. As far as the rest of this line of storms is concerned, let's kind of pan the camera around just a little bit to give you an idea of what we're looking at right now. Where you see the green and red next to each other, that is where we have strong gusty winds right now. The signature on radar is not quite as impressive over Marshall and Callaway County as it was back to the west near places like Fulton, Hickman, and Wingo, but it's still there. We're still looking at the possibility here of some gusts of at least 50 to 60 miles per hour. We've got power, it looks like, just went out in South Callaway, and yeah, parts of Murray now without power. Still some strong winds around other parts of the region as well. Now, I will say that once this area of wind and these thunderstorms blow through, this is it for our severe weather threat. This line of storms is the last one that we'll have today. The wind threat is not over with. In fact, the wind threat will continue after these storms move through. We're going to have those very strong gusty winds aside from the storms behind them that could easily reach 50, 55 miles per hour, especially in parts of western Kentucky and Tennessee this afternoon. Do you have something new for us, Nolan?
Yeah, it looks like power is now being reported out in Reedland. There was a tree knocked down on Murray Street in Mayfield. So, and the winds are still continuing behind this line as well. So I guess the gusty winds are really starting to ramp up right now.
Okay. If you wouldn't mind, do me a favor. I'm going to flip this back over to velocity, but if you would go and click over from this defaults to storm relative. We put me on just regular velocity here. We're going to change the color table on this just for a second so we can get a better idea. Thank you. Of the winds that are occurring with this thing. Let me zoom in just a little bit. Again, for those of us in McCracken County, Paducah proper, and now Reedland, tornado warning is still technically in effect, but the threat for a tornado has passed those areas. Paducah and Reedland, everything is, we're in good shape. There is still some minor concern up around the Smithland area in western Kentucky. And you see some of these bright pops of pink here around Calvert City and Smithland. That's where we're talking about possibly some stronger level wind gusts. Let me kind of give you an idea of the speeds here. For example, in between Smithland and Calvert City, 65 miles per hour with those bright pinks. Up into Pope County, 53 miles per hour. Let me move the camera around just a little bit here. Move it to the north a little bit. And some of these gusts here across parts of Pope County are very intense right now as well. Seeing some of these bright shades of pink. 51, 72, 58. So some very strong winds here in southern sections of Pope County, at least according to radar, and down here to the southeast of Smithland and between Smithland and Calvert City, some very strong winds. We move the camera farther to the south, however, it does appear that the winds across western Kentucky with this line of storms maybe not quite as strong as they were just a little bit ago. Worst of the weather is over with here in Murray. Still some rain, but the winds have already passed, and the strongest winds here in Marshall County have now moved east of Benton. So those of us around Grand Rivers and Aurora, you guys will be experiencing those winds here in just a few minutes. Up toward Eddyville and Catawba, Fredonia, those are some areas where the wind is probably going to start to get more intense here in the next little bit. So let me zoom out and give you a track on where the strongest portion of this line is headed next. And this whole thing is moving east at about 50 miles per hour. So these strong winds we have here in Pope and Livingston County, moving east at about 50. That's going to put the folks here in Eddyville, Catawba, Marion, and Princeton in line next. Salem about 11:40, so we've got around 10 minutes before those real strong winds head up toward the Salem area, and then Marion, Kentucky at about 11:52. For those of you around Eddyville and Catawba, it's going to be about 11:41. And then after that, these things move off pretty quickly. Providence at 12:13 and Madisonville at around 12:23. So not really going to be looking at a major problem here in Providence or Madisonville for probably another 45 minutes or so. But very strong winds showing up here right across the Ohio River from Calvert City to Smithland right now. Probably looking at least 50 to 55, maybe 60 mile per hour wind gusts there. Let's see. Taking a quick scan. Nolan, are you seeing anything on social media or anywhere behind the scenes to share with us?
It doesn't look like anything much new. Still a lot of wind. A couple areas of power out in Graves right now.
Okay. We technically have, well, our tornado warning for McCracken County, Livingston County, and Pope County technically still has 15 minutes left, but I would imagine you'll see that get pulled down here shortly. Keeping an eye on the chat, so we've got...
Looks like they extended the severe thunderstorm warning in southern Illinois.
Yes. So we do have a few new reports here. Report of 70 mile per hour wind gust in Calvert City and that was 4 minutes ago. A large tree down in Metropolis, 2nd and Pearl Street. We've got wind gusts continuing at 50 to 60 miles per hour with this line of storms in southern Illinois crossing the Ohio River. And then report of some power poles snapped in Murray, Kentucky. Looking at the sky tracker behind the scenes right now, I don't see any damage there on campus at Murray State. But the part of the storm that we're most concerned about right now is what's coming here out of Calvert City. So Livingston County up into Pope County, we're seeing likely 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts here. So those of you in Salem and Berna, up toward Marion, Fredonia, I know there's not a whole lot going on right now for you guys, but the strongest part of this storm is headed your direction here shortly. Let me zoom back over to regular. Actually, no, let's stay on this, and let me move the camera around just a little bit here.
Looks like a tornado warning.
Yeah, tornado warning has been dropped. Thank you. Severe thunderstorm warning, I believe, has been extended here for those of us in Crittenden County. Yeah, Caldwell, Crittenden, Livingston, Lyon County, and I believe back toward McCracken County as well. Severe thunderstorm warning until 12:15. Wind speed 70 miles per hour. Considerable damage is possible. And there is still the potential that we could see a little rotation here and the possibility of a spin up somewhere along this line. But our strongest winds right now are running here in Livingston County. We did have a report about 6 minutes ago of a 70 mile per hour gust in Calvert City, and we're probably seeing that up and down this line from Golconda to Smithland. Some of these colors that you're seeing here are intense, to say the least. Look at this. A few miles north of Smithland, 83 mile per hour estimated wind speed on radar, 59 miles per hour just to the east of Smithland. Down here along I-24, as you cross cross over the Cumberland River, about 65 mile per hour gusts there. That's headed toward Catawba, Eddyville, Fredonia, Salem, and Marion within the next 10 minutes. So if you're watching out ahead of this thing, get your cars pulled into the garage if you can, get them away from trees, and make sure that you are taking shelter as well in a safe spot in your home. Stay away from windows and get to the center of your house. Let's move the camera down to the south a little bit, and we did have some reports of some power poles down around Murray as this thing came through, and there is still some strong winds showing up here in eastern Callaway County. Some of these bright blues, probably looking at gusts of over 50 miles per hour as well. Let's see what the radar is estimating. So you can see here, for example, around the 280 sign, 41 mile per hour gusts, 68 mile per hour gust possible here. Now keep in mind, as you get farther away from the radar, we're scanning higher and higher up in the atmosphere. And so, for example, around Murray, we're scanning the winds at about 3,500 feet, about 3,500 feet up. So it is going to be a little, maybe not exactly ground truth of what we're seeing at the surface, but definitely some strong winds here. Let me put it on the track here. I've had some folks asking about arrival times in places over east of the lakes. Let me zoom out here, and we'll track the strongest winds here moving off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. So the worst of the storm right around here. So those of you in Cadiz, for example, asking about arrival times, about 11:57. Catawba at around 11:40, and then over toward Hopkinsville at around 12:19. So again, kind of a reset here. Let me pan the camera back around to the north just a little bit. So those of you, yeah.
Sorry, Bobby. There's major structural damage in Fremont. Blaine's there now.
Okay.
It's going to be live, but there's a lot of homes that have major damage in Fremont.
Okay, so we've got, so newsroom reporting.
Live.
Okay, we've got a crew headed out toward Fremont in McCracken County with some structural damage there from a tornado that crossed into McCracken County just a little bit ago. We've got numerous, now for right now, Paducah down through Mayfield, warnings are still in effect, but the severe thunderstorms have passed through that area. The worst of the storms right now here in Livingston County, getting ready to head into Crittenden County, getting ready to move into Lyon County, just now entering Lyon County. This is where we've got a corridor of winds, likely 70 miles per hour or higher, and this is going to be racing off to the east. So severe thunderstorm warnings continue here in western Kentucky. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for those of us in Crittenden County, Caldwell County, Lyon County, and Trigg County, Livingston County as well. And this is running until 12:15. Wind gusts possibly up to 70 miles per hour. Considerable damage is possible out of this line of thunderstorms. Let's put another track here on this as it moves to the east at 50 miles per hour. And some of our areas that are going to be impacted by this shortly, and this has had a history of producing damaging winds. So Eddyville, we've got about 4 more minutes. Eddyville and Catawba, Marion at around 11:49, Dawson Springs at around 12:09, Hopkinsville at 12:17, and Madisonville at 12:26. So in these areas, in the next 5 minutes, in Eddyville, you're going to be seeing very high winds picking up in your neighborhood. Marion, Kentucky, possibly gusts of 60, 65, or 70 miles per hour. And this is enough to do damage, tree damage, possibly roof damage to homes. And we've got the potential for wind gusts again well over 60 to 70 miles per hour in those areas. All right, we've got a crew. Blaine McDonald is heading out to the southern sections of McCracken County, around the Fremont area, where we've had some structural damage reported from severe thunderstorm that likely produced a tornado, a brief tornado touchdown in the southern sections of McCracken County, and that was a little less than an hour ago. So around the Fremont, hard money areas. If we have any reports of damage, the easiest way to get that to us is by going to your WPSD News app, go to Weather Window, and submit your photo there.
Hey, Travis.
Yes.
Quick update. Blaine's there, Ethan's there live. The live shot just came up. There's several homes with roofs off, a lot of trees down.
Okay.
It looks like it was only a short path, but it's pretty hard damage right from Fremont, and it looked like it lifted right before 24.
Okay.
So we got Blaine, Ethan, and Jason.
Okay.
So that's it. That coupled looked pretty tight on it for a little bit.
Yeah.
Confirmed. We're going to try to get you some photos to pop up on your screen here.
Okay. Yeah, all right. So, folks in the back, if you guys would let us know whenever you've got that live shot ready, we'll take a look at that again. Out around the Fremont area, just to the south of I-24 in central McCracken County, we did have, looked like a brief touchdown of a tornado, and that was a little less than an hour ago. Right now, this line of storms continuing to move across western Kentucky. Let's put this back on regular radar, and we've got multiple areas here just moving into Marion right now. So all along this line of storms producing damaging winds of 60 to 70 miles per hour. It's now just to the west of Marion. It's moving through Eddyville and Catawba right now and off to the west of Cadiz in western Kentucky. Calvert City, Benton, Mayfield, Paducah, Metropolis, the threat has come and gone. These storms have moved on to the east, and there will not be any more as far as thunderstorms in those areas. Now, what we have to remember, the winds along this line, just one part of the story, because we're starting to see those very strong what we call gradient winds beginning to unfold across the region, and that is going to mean more gusts today in the 40, 50, even 55 mile per hour range through the midday and afternoon time frame, especially in western Kentucky and northwest Tennessee.
They're ready to take a live shot behind you, just so you know, if you want to talk over.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, if you guys want to... Okay, we're getting our first look at some damage, and again, this is in southern McCracken County. This is over toward the Hard Money and Fremont areas. And you see, wow, there is a lot of damage there. This is certainly, looks like what would be, a tornado would be responsible for that. You see some power poles down there, trees down, quite a bit of roofing across the road. And yeah, we've got trees that are both uprooted and snapped here. And again, if you're just joining us, we had this is in McCracken County over toward the Fremont area, and we've got We'll just stay on this for just a second as we're getting our first look at some damage here. And this was a line of storms that quickly became severe across western Kentucky back around Fulton, Hickman, and Wingo. We had reports of 60, 70 mile per hour wind gusts and a very brief touchdown, but it looks like a very intense touchdown. We did have a debris signature on radar as we were tracking this live, and that is certainly considerable damage that was a result of this storm. The time on that, it looked like it was at around 11:05 or so was where we had the radar signature of this, about between 11:05 and 11:10 this morning. So this was a little less than an hour ago that we had this system come across McCracken County. Again, this was a very brief touchdown, but we do have first responders out here. And we see first responders are now out giving aid and assistance to people. We don't know if there are any injuries with this, but we do certainly see some extremely intense damage that was done by this. We've got Local 6's Blaine McDonald and a couple of our photojournalists out taking a look at this. They're getting their first look and gathering reports of what appears to be a tornado that touched down in McCracken County about 40 minutes ago. See another large tree that's down there, roofing, and we've seen insulation that's been spotted in some of the trees that have been affected by this. Large pieces of roofing that have come down. This does look like a fairly short and narrow damage path. This is out, you see Dollar General store just beyond the scope of the damage here, and multiple first responders from McCracken County showing up there on the scene, helping to take care of these folks that have just been impacted by this storm. All right, let's head back over to radar, because we do want to make sure that we keep track of what's going on right now. We still have this line of storms from Marion, Kentucky, down through Eddyville and Catawba, and closing in on the Cadiz area. And we are still tracking the possibility of gusty winds in excess of 60 miles per hour with this. We'll turn back over to the winds inside the storm. And Nolan, again, if you wouldn't mind to switch me over to the regular velocity instead of the storm relative. Appreciate that. Now we've got the strongest winds are showing up here in the areas of pink, which is over near the Marion area. Now, let's go back in. Let's actually zoom in instead of zooming out. So right here along 641 Marion and Fredonia, very possible that we are seeing gusts of over 60 miles per hour here. In fact, radar estimates around Fredonia, winds 68, 62 miles per hour, gusts possibly 74, 75 near Marion. Now again, keep in mind that here the radar is scanning quite a bit higher above the ground. You know, at around Marion, for example, the radar scanning at an elevation of about 3,000 feet. So 3,000 feet above us, we've got winds 60, 70 miles per hour. It's easy for those storms to push those winds down to the ground and lead to some damage from the wind here in Crittenden County. That's moving into here sections of Caldwell County as well. Lyon County, you guys have been dealing with this for a little while now. The strongest of the storm is has just pushed through the Eddyville area and is approaching Princeton here in just a few minutes. The strongest winds here in Trigg County are just to the west of Canton, and we'll be heading toward Cadiz here in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So let me zoom out and give you a look at the arrival times here as this thing continues to move east. This storm is going to be moving quickly out of the Local 6 area in the next probably 20 to 30 minutes. We'll be seeing the storm move over toward Hopkins and Christian County. Let's do a little tracking here for you. So the southern end of this that's approaching Cadiz right now, heading up toward the Princeton area. This is moving again east at about 50 miles per hour. So Cerulean at around 1202, Hopkinsville at around 1211. And then the northern end of this, that's currently up around Princeton, closing in on or moving through Marion right now, is going to be over toward the Providence and Madisonville area shortly. Princeton at around 11:55, so within the next 10 minutes. Providence at 11:07, and then over toward Nebo at around 12:15. These storms are also pretty intense in southern Illinois. We've had some strong wind gusts there as well in the parts of Massac and Pope County. We did have a report of a tree down in Metropolis earlier on. And some of these storms still very strong up around Harrisburg, back over toward the Shawneetown and Cave and Rock area, moving to the northeast shortly over toward the Ridgeway and Carmi areas in the next little bit. All right, let's, do we have the live shot again out in McCracken County? Take another look. Okay, we've lost that temporarily. Of course, it's 11:49. We'll be back with you here. We'll begin Local 6 midday coming up here at the top of the hour, and we will have a full report from Blaine McDonald there. She is in McCracken County at around the Fremont and Hard Money areas. We had a touchdown, unconfirmed, but all indications from what we saw on radar there briefly about 45 minutes ago, likely a brief touchdown of a tornado in McCracken County with the warning that was issued there about 45 minutes ago. Okay. Marion down to Princeton and Cadiz right now, this line of storms still possibly producing wind gusts of up to 65 miles per hour at least. Some of our strongest winds right now here in Crittenden County. The worst of the storm is passing through Marion and Fredonia right now, so Princeton, you're next in line here in 5 minutes or less. You're going to see very strong winds, then that wall of rain, and within about 10 minutes it will all be over with. It's going to be a very quick hitting storm. Providence over toward Dawson Springs, the same story for you guys. And then on down the line, this storm will be crossing over I-24 into the southern sections of Caldwell County and over toward the Cadiz area. You guys under a severe thunderstorm warning here as well. This line, as it gets a little farther south into northwest Tennessee, folks down toward the Dover area, seeing some rain and storms, but does not have the severity of what it's had here in McCracken County. So we'll zoom out here and give you one more kind of rundown on our severe weather threat. Those of us for Paducah, Benton, Mayfield, we're in the clear from the thunderstorm risk. Now, here's what we got to keep in mind. Once the storms move out, that means that the low pressure is moving away from our region. Once the low moves out, that's when we're going to start to see those very strong and gusty winds ramp up through the afternoon. So just because the storms are over with, we may very well still have multiple wind gusts throughout today of 40 to 50 miles per hour in some spots. And keep in mind, there's a high wind warning in Tennessee until 6 o'clock. That's where we could see some of the stronger gusts. Not out of the question that we could see gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour there. Not associated with thunderstorms, just wind, and that could cause damage in and of itself through the afternoon. So we've still got likely about a 6-hour window across the region where we could see some of those elevated higher end wind gusts from just simply the pressure difference in the atmosphere, and we'll have to keep a close eye on that through the course of the day. Keeping an eye on things in the Weather Service chat and on social media. Let's see, we've got some reports kind of going through on Facebook here real quickly. If you have any reports that you can share with us, you can message us on our Facebook fan pages, and you can also comment on our live stream, WPSD. We are live on Facebook. We've got power outages around the Brookport area. Several of you asking for Princeton, Kentucky. So Princeton, this storm is right on top of you. The wind gusts here, 60 miles per hour likely, moving through town right now over the next few minutes, and then it will be east of town. This thing is going to be over with in 5-10 minutes. It's a very quick moving line of storms. Same for Cadiz. So once it gets past Princeton, Dawson Springs, Madisonville, and Hopkinsville, you guys will all be seeing those strong, gusty, possibly damaging winds of 60 miles per hour, and that will be occurring here in the next 15 to 20 minutes. Let me put one more track on here. We do need to take perhaps a quick break so that we can reset for our folks in the back and get ready for Local 6 midday. Of course, we'll have much more coverage for you here on our tornado that touched down in McCracken County. Arrival times here: Providence 12:04, Hopkinsville 12:10, Madisonville 12:19, and again, there's the potential that we could have a brief spin up somewhere along this line, but most likely just strong straight line winds of 60, 70 miles per hour with that. Do we have that live shot back by any chance? Not yet. Okay. We did have, let's see, another report that just came in. Upper Detree, 5 miles southwest of Murray, Kentucky, and that was just 10 minutes ago. Not associated with not associated with the storm. These are just the wind gusts, now at 55 miles per hour around the Murray area. And again, we've got multiple homes damaged in the Fremont area of McCracken County from a tornado there. All right, so 11:55. What we're going to do here, Marion, Princeton, and Cadiz, our line of storms blowing through right now. Severe thunderstorm warning just issued up here for Union, Webster County, and on up toward the Evansville area. With these storms moving out of our area, we've got our newscast coming up here in 4 minutes. I'd like to take a quick break so we can get a reset and make sure we got our live shot dialed in for our folks that are anticipating that from McCracken County. So we'll take a quick break. We'll toss it to commercial, and stay with us. We'll be back here in less than 5 minutes for a live update on Local 6 Midday. We'll see you then.
Irritating residue for a clean that's gentle on skin.
Gentle would be nice for a change.
All